Claire here in the Pacific Northwest Puget Sound area grows zone 8B. This week has been so busy. It's like we had to fit in all the adventures, and we did. So come along and join. I'll show you what we've been up to, as well as some canning experiments that happened involving pumpkins. And I will share with you the lessons that I effed around and found out about those. Once we get to that, that'll be at the sort of end of the video. So see you then. So we started off our week going to our favorite pond, and these guys seem to always travel in a group, and they usually come up to see us. So that's like always such a treat to start off. And then for you guys who may or may not know, we do homeschool, so here's proof that we actually do work throughout the week. We don't just do fun stuff. Although learning can be really fun, as you can see, and I love being able to do this as a family, even though having a little sister can be a distraction sometimes. And then we went horse riding like we do every week, but this week Katana got to try out sitting on the pony, and she decided she does not like riding by herself. She only wants to ride with somebody else. So this week she got to ride with brother, but next week she's going to get to ride with me, and I'm going to take my first horse riding lesson, and she's going to sit with me. Probably the highlight of our week was going on this Pioneer Village farm tour, and they had these old cabins just full of actual things that belong to the people who lived there. And I just always am in awe of all the different gadgets and things that they had to make their lives easier and beneficial. And then of course they had this beautiful china. So what did I do in my modern day life is get on Amazon, and I actually ordered some new plates because I was like, I don't think I can live without this blue and white plates. So love looking at the old-fashioned stuff, but love the convenience of the modern life, being able to get what I want at the click of a button. Here is me being a teacher, and there's some inspirational quotes there for you. And then here's the kids getting to play school in the old-timey schoolhouse. This actually works. They didn't have it on this time, but I just love all the details of this schoolhouse, and I just imagine like all the little kids who have learned in it. I found these punishments and the rules for the teachers really interesting. You might have to pause to read them, but and then Connor got to make some butter, and Katana was enamored with this antique doll. It was just so sweet and loving to it. And that's what I love about this place, is they're not like, hey, don't touch the stuff. They like encourage the kids to touch things and try things out. And Connor got to use a real blacksmith forge. I only got to get the tail end of his little time here because Katana was looking at animals, but this was the highlight of his day, I know. He asked us if we could put one of these in our backyard, which I know my husband would absolutely not say no to at all. I can just imagine them making all sorts of creations out there. And then we got to end the tour by making our very own candle, and in the upcoming weeks, maybe I'll show you guys us actually burning ours, because I made one. Katana, quote unquote, helped me make one, and then I made one myself. And then, of course, we saw all of their little farm animals here, and they had a piggy, and I always forget that they're so bristly and scratchy, but they're so cute. And then, of course, anytime there's ducks, we're going to find them. And they had chickens, and they had a pair of cows. One was a milking cow, one was her calf, and there they are, just so sweet in the pasture. But some of the kids actually got to milk them while we were there. It was such a cool thing. And then, as if we didn't get our fill of animals, this This kitty cat always needs some loving, and he's always living his best life, getting all the hands on him all the time. This cat, if you meet him, he is all about this. And then Connor is into robotics, and so he made a creation which I thought was really creative. It's a motor and a box and a paper clip. So Connor woke up yesterday and wanted us to film making some cookies. So we had to wait for the baby to fall asleep for a nap, and we finally got our chance, but we had some issues with our microphone throughout the video. So I won't show you guys the whole process of what we did, but we just had so much fun together. The baby did eventually wake up, and but I will show you one mishap we had with the mixer, as well as the end result.
So you put it in this.
It says in a medium bowl, we're going to mix the flour, baking soda, and this was our first time using the KitchenAid mixer since we've gotten it like, what, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, this
and
is definitely a large
honestly,
bowl.
I didn't really know what to cook with it. I didn't know how it worked exactly, or necessarily what the hype was. I just thought, oh, it's a mixer. But besides, you know, us having sort of an I Love Lucy flower explosion moment, that what we found is that we really love this mixer, and I can foresee us making a lot more stuff because it blended everything so easily. Like you just would have to be there and try it yourself, because I've only had experience with hand mixers, and just being able to press a button and it do all the work and not have to like fight with the bowl and the blender, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Connor rolled out all the cookie dough by himself into the most perfect little cookie balls. We don't have one of those fancy schmancy cookie scoops that the recipe recommended. Maybe one day we'll get one, but right now this is what worked. And we ended up cooking about 16, I believe, yesterday. And obviously between 4 people that live in this house, none of them survived to today. But we froze about 2 more dozen, I believe, maybe a little bit more, like 2 baker's dozens, for another time in the future when we have a hankering for cookies. But we don't try to eat a lot of sweet sugary treats very often, just maybe once a week, and have a little indulgence. We put them in the oven to cook for about 10 minutes, and we ended up putting them in for just 1 more minute. The recipe did say that they would not look done when they're actually finished, because you got to take them out, let them cool, otherwise they'll get too hard. And in my opinion, I think that the 11 minutes was, at least for our stove, the perfect amount. We all really, really enjoyed them, and Connor did such an amazing job of making these today. And of course, this would not be complete without seeing them enjoy it, which of course they did. And Katana had to fancily eat hers with a spoon, because that's how ladies do it. Okay, you guys, here we are in our real family kitchen. I don't have to explain it to you, because I have a feeling that if you're watching this, you might not have a chef's kitchen. I sure don't. And this is the extent of my counter space over here. It ends over there at the end of that red pumpkin, and then back here where you usually see me working in the videos, that little, 2 to 3 square feet right there. So this is my counter space, so this is gonna be really fun. But I wanted to show you these gorgeous pumpkins. This one right down here is a Cinderella pumpkin. This one is called a blue doll. It's this pretty gray blue shade. This one right here, oh, I just looked this one up. Oh, what is the name of this? I think it's called like a buttercup or something. It's a winter squash. So I don't know if it's technically a pumpkin or not. I don't know if all pumpkins are winter squash or what the classification is, but it's in the, I guess, the butternut family, but it's some kind of hybrid. And then this has a fancy French name that I cannot pronounce, but it translates to embroidered with scabs, because as you can see, it has these really fun little scabby warty bits. So, but from what I've read, all of them are okay for, cooking, for soup, for pureeing for pies, and obviously some are going to be sweeter than other ones. I'm just gonna, what I do, I mess around and find out. And then I got this, and this is a sugar pie pumpkin. But what I found funny is, like I told you last week, they were doing it that special because it was the end of Halloween, and they were just trying to get rid of their pumpkins, I guess, before they went bad. And so each of these pumpkins was $2 a piece. So for $8, I got these interesting, beautiful pumpkins. And then this was an organic sugar pie pumpkin, and it's $4 for this little teeny tiny thing. Before I begin showing you what I'm about to do, I've got to give you the disclaimer that, according to the FDA, pumpkin and squash should not be canned. But the name of my channel kind of says it all. I do experiment with things, and I have some other people that I look up to that have canned successfully, safely, pumpkins in various forms for years and years. It's just a semi-recent thing where they say it's not. But we're gonna try it. I'm gonna show you kind of my process of how I break these down, and these jars we're gonna put them in. So first things first, I had to open up this beautiful pumpkin. I started with the Cinderella pumpkin first and just scooped out all the seeds and the guts and separated them. I'm going to let my chickens have some treats, which either they're going to get sick of this. Hopefully it's okay for them to eat this much pumpkins because they've had a lot in the last couple of weeks. I saved some of the seeds and put them in a baggie and labeled them because I might plant some next winter or spring. But then I cubed up the pumpkin and put it in my big sauce pot here, cook pot, whatever you want to call that. And this was the most time consuming part. So if anybody has any suggestions for taking the rind off of pumpkins, let me know. I am a gadget loving fan. So time saving gadgets, I love those. So if you have one on your mind, let me know. This took so freaking long. But we got it done, and then it filled up about halfway of this sauce pot, which I don't know what the measurement was, but there you go. Okay, so this is a pressure canner. It's an electric pressure canner, and I've only been able to use it one time before. This can also do water bathing, and so I was trying to do that, but it turns out the jar that I was using for the water bath was too large. So I ended up pressure canning the applesauce, and I think it turned out okay. But so since squash is lower acidity, it needs to be pressure canned because the temperatures won't reach what they need to reach, and whatever the sciencey reason is. But that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to be pressure canning the pumpkin here. And so while it's doing its thing, it's going to heat up the jars, which I already have in here. You fill them up about halfway with water, and then it takes about 20 minutes. It's going to take a little while for me to get this pumpkin ready to go in the jars once it's done, because it has to boil for like just 2 minutes. So then I'm going to transfer it to the jars after that. This is the Cinderella pumpkin, which I have never had before in my life, as far as I know. But I'm about to try its flavor. It's come to a boil over here on the pot. I've set the timer for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to transfer it to the jars. But I think what I'd like to do is do sort of a long haul experiment and label each individual jar that has what specific pumpkin in it. And then if I ever make a puree from that pumpkin variety, I will rate it like in flavor wise. But I'm going to try it now. It actually has a really good flavor. I could see how mixed in with the pie with some sugar and whatever you put in a pumpkin pie, some pumpkin pie spice, I can imagine it'd be pretty delicious. So once the mixture got done, I just started putting it into hot jars. And the recipe that I was following said to put that I could optionally put in a half teaspoon of salt in with the mixture, and then once you get as many whole cubes in, then you fill in the gaps with the cooked water within an inch headspace before you put on the lid and secure it with band. And this pressure canner can hold 8 pints. And so that's what I did, and I'm always amazed with when you look in a pot, you're like, ooh, that's too much, I'm not gonna have enough to put in jars, how quickly it fills them up. I had just a little bit of extra pumpkin left over that I put into a separate container in the refrigerator. That I think this week I'm going to try a pumpkin butter recipe with all of the kind of leftover odds and ends from the different pumpkins after I process them, because last night I only was able to process the Cinderella pumpkin. I did cut open the blue doll pumpkin, and maybe next week I will kind of show you just a quick little, this is what the inside of this one looked like, and this is what the inside of this one looked like, because I was amazed at the amount of meat that was inside of the blue doll versus the Cinderella. It had a lot of stuff that needed to be cubed, so I just ran out of time last night. But I am excited to kind of show you what the inside of these pumpkins look like next week if I'm able to get to all that. But I really found this pressure canner to be really great and really time saving as far as that goes, and not very intimidating compared to kind of the manual pressure cookers that I've seen. That's why I've never really used those, because they look scary. But so I processed the jars for 55 minutes, and then they came out, and you have to leave them for about 12 hours on your counter to cool down, just to make sure that they're sealed correctly and properly. So, but that was definitely a great, fairly easy first time experience. The main lesson that I'm learning as I'm effing around and finding out is you always think you have more time than you actually do. And whatever you think shouldn't take a lot of time takes a lot of time. I got 8 of these jars filled up and used the pressure canner. This one right here is the only one that I've ever had when canning that did not seal properly. So I'm going to probably use this week in some kind of recipe. So you'll have to check out what might happen with that next week. But I cubed them and canned them. So I'm excited to experiment with them in the upcoming months. And that was just one pumpkin, you guys. So I bit off more than I could chew by being like, ooh, 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 like at all the different varieties of pumpkins. So what I've learned next year, I'm probably just going to pick like 1 or 2 pumpkins and focus on those versus 4 or 5 separate varieties. But that's what I found out this week. And I didn't take you guys on a garden tour this week because there's really not a lot new or exciting happening right now. But we'll see what happens next week. there'll be another week's worth of growth, and then plus I plan on coming out here and cleaning up the yard, making it look beautiful because we're having a birthday party, so it should be nice. So with that being said, come back next week. Might be making some kind of pumpkin related recipe. I'll see you then. Y'all have an awesome Sunday.